after month, for over a year, Churchill had been sending secret messages to Roosevelt. We must ask as a matter of life or death to be reinforced. It has now become most urgent for you to let us have the destroyers for which we have asked. Mr. President, with great respect, I must tell you that in the long history of the world, this is a thing to do now. Roosevelt wanted to help, but most Americans were against involvement in any war. It would take all of FDR's political genius to get Churchill what England needed to survive.
We cannot and we will not tell them that they must surrender merely because of present inability to pay for the weapons which we know they must have.
Congress had prohibited Roosevelt from sending weapons unless England paid in cash, and England was bankrupt. The president would have to outmaneuver the lawmakers.
I do not recommend that we make them a loan of dollars with which to pay for these weapons.
Roosevelt proposed a daring plan with an innocuous name, Lend-Lease.
Lend-Lease was a way to give the British planes, tanks, guns, artillery, ammunition, without them really paying for it. And reporters at a press conference asked him, what does this mean? What does Lend-Lease mean?
Roosevelt explained that we would lend England the weapons, and when the war was over, England would return them. It was like lending a neighbor a garden hose to put out a fire, he said. After the fire was out, the neighbor would simply return the hose.
Well, of course, it was patent nonsense. What were the British going to do? Give us the tanks back that were blowing up, the planes that were shot down? But Roosevelt's invocation of this homily about the neighbor and the garden hose is a wonderful way for him to sell it to the public. And that was his political genius. That was something that he had a kind of sixth sense for. You can't understand it, you can't define it, you can't put it under any scientific rubric. It simply was something that the man had.
On March 11th, 1941, Congress passed and Roosevelt signed into law Lend-Lease.
There was an emergency press conference call. This morning he'd signed the Lend-Lease bill. A reporter said, Mr. President, have you got ships and material and tanks and things? Are they already, left the ports and crossing the Atlantic? Well, my British supply man had told me that there were cargoes just about to arrive in Liverpool and Southampton. And Roosevelt looked up like an innocent child and he said, he said, we work fast, but not that fast. And of course it was, if they'd known the truth, the whole Atlantic was thick with all the things already on their way.
The Lend-Lease lifeline stretched across the Atlantic. Roosevelt had bent the law, outflanked Congress, and provided England with billions of dollars worth of weapons and supplies.